So your internal dialogue is something a lot of people struggle with at some point in their life. And it's super important for you to constantly work and improve on how it is you talk to yourself. And the way you do that is basically with a 3-to-1 ratio of positive versus negative. And there's a whole bunch of science to why I say that. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I've read a bunch of books and I've listened to a bunch of podcasts. And basically, as I understand it, the way it works is your body uses so much fuel that it begins to coat the common thoughts and actions to streamline it and use less energy and be more efficient. So it becomes a subconscious thought versus a conscious thought. And think about it, it's something along the lines of brushing your teeth or how you get to work or drive somewhere every day, but you don't really remember how you got there. The problem with that type of thing that your brain does is it begins to do that with anything that's most commonly thought or done. And so most people, they think negative things to themselves more than they think positive things to themselves. So unfortunately, the subconscious knee-jerk reaction thoughts are usually negative, and that causes a big problem for people where they start only thinking negative about themselves. So the solution I always tell everyone is 3 positives for every negative that outweigh it. So if you call yourself dumb, you have to think of 3 positives that counter calling yourself dumb, like I made a mistake and I will improve. This is just a learning experience for me and I can become better. And I'm not dumb, I just didn't do this right. So those 3 will outweigh the 1. And what happens is one day you'll wake up and realize you're being way kinder to yourself, and it gets a lot easier and becomes the knee-jerk reactions, and it gets everything in your life becomes a little bit more positive. And I've realized that this not only works with the way your inner dialogue works, but it can work with many other things in your life. So my current thing I'm working on is my reactions to negative or unexpected or just bad news. So generally my reaction is some sort of anger or frustration or a negative emotion that comes out. So I'm currently working on every time one of those instances happen, I try to make sure I don't react in anger. I react in a more positive way that's a learning experience or just anything that cannot be weighing so heavy on me in a negative tone. And eventually what's going to happen is when I catch myself enough, my knee-jerk emotion that will come from these unexpected things won't be anger or frustration. It will be a productive improvement upon myself to learn and grow from, instead of having to overcome the anger before I can start learning from the mistake or bad news or adapting or just adjusting to it and changing my course. So it's really cool how your brain works, unless it's kind of triggering you down a path you don't want to be. So think of that when you're having a reaction or something that later you're like, man, I shouldn't have done that. You can fix it by constantly working on and improving on what it is you're doing in the moment to make the subconscious thoughts and actions become what you want them to be versus what you don't want them to be. But that's all I got on this one. I'll see you on the next one.